Welcome everyone. This is Elisa with XYZ Wellness, and I'm so glad to have you here today for our yoga class. And I mentioned before we started, you might want to put some background music on if there's something that you'd like to listen to. And then, you might want to have some props nearby. And if you have, maybe the so-called traditional props like a block or a strap, you can have that. But if you don't have those things, you don't need to worry about it. You could use a sofa cushion, a pillow from your bed, a rolled up blanket, even rolling up your yoga mat, maybe a couple books in place of a block. So, having whatever you might want to have nearby, but knowing even if you don't have those things, it's okay as well. I am going to start by sitting up on a block. And I always recommend sitting up on a little something so that way we can allow the knees to be lower than the hips. So as we move through the practice today, it's all about listening to your body and what your body needs. And as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, this is going to be a more gentle class, and it's going to be a class really designed to help us find a little bit of stress relief. So, we're all dealing with, some new things with the world, and especially with the holidays coming. So we're going to slow down a little bit for this class. There are going to be options to move, and if you want to take options that are a little more active, you can choose that. If you need to, or even want to choose some options that are a little more gentle, you'll have that as available to you as well. So we're going to start in a seat, and you can have your legs in a regular cross-legged position. But if that creates any type of discomfort for the knees or the hips, you can always extend the legs. And even if you'd rather be on your back, that's fine too. So we're going to start in a comfortable position. And if we are in a seat, we'll make sure that our spine is nice and long. So remember, we're sitting up on something, and that's going to help protect the low back, help keep us from slumping down. And finding that length from our tailbone, and maybe even moving around the tissue around your sitting bones so that you're on those sitting bones, and lengthening through the crown of the head, maybe letting your eyes soften or even close. So if you're not comfortable closing the eyes, that's okay. You can just let your gaze come down towards the floor. And just beginning to notice your breath, allowing the breath to flow in and out through the nose. Noticing what that feels like. Being aware of parts of the body that are feeling that breath. So maybe noticing your breath as it enters the nose, or maybe all the way down into the belly or the chest. So every time we breathe in, feeling a sense of expansion, feeling the belly expand with that air. And then on the out breath, the belly draws in. So a lot of times we might breathe kind of opposite to that. And that kind of triggers our fight or flight response. That can create stress. So if we're trying to release stress, finding that diaphragmatic breath as we breathe in, the belly goes out. As we breathe out, the belly goes in. Inhaling, creating space in the body, in the mind, even space in the heart. And then exhaling, letting go of anything that no longer serves us. Letting go of expectations and judgments. Letting go of competition or comparison. Comparison can be the thief of our happiness. So letting go of any need to compare ourselves with anybody else. Being grateful for this body on this mat and on this day. And now bringing our awareness to our body. So noticing the parts of the body that are touching the earth. So the feet, the legs, noticing your bottom on whatever you're sitting on. So feeling supported. Feeling the earth underneath the body holding us. Drawing some energy from the earth into the body. Noticing any other parts of the body that might be making themselves known. So you might be feeling a little achy or tight, maybe feeling some tension in the shoulders, relaxing the face, and that place between the eyebrows, really softening the muscles around the eyes. Setting an intention for your practice today. So when we set an intention, it's really about thinking about the quality that you'd like to cultivate and stating it to yourself in the present tense as if it already exists. So for today, perhaps our intention is gratitude. So you might say to yourself, I am grateful. Maybe I am abundance, having everything you need in abundance. Or perhaps it's something else that is speaking to you in this moment. Whatever intention you choose to set for the practice today, knowing that we can take that intention with us off of our yoga mats. So living our yoga not just on the mat, but off it as well. So with our eyes still closed, we'll exhale here, bringing chin towards the chest, letting the neck hang long. So the weight of the head is creating a nice stretch for the upper shoulders, upper back. And then we'll inhale, lifting the chin parallel to the floor. So we might go through that a couple times, really moving slowly with the breath. Inhaling to lift up, exhaling to lower. You can keep your eyes closed here if that feels good, or if it feels better to have your eyes open so you can look around the room as you're doing this. This next time we bring our chin parallel to the floor, we're just going to start to turn our chin from side to side. So exhaling to look over one shoulder, inhaling as we come through center, and then exhaling to look over the other shoulder. So we'll do that just a few times, and noticing if maybe it feels better on one side than another. So it might be a little tight on one side. Maybe we slept a little funny last night. Just finding your comfortable range here. And then coming back to center, finding any other movement that might feel good here. So it might be tracing some half circles from one shoulder to the other. Or you might choose to bring one ear towards that shoulder. So creating some mobility in our cervical spine. And we can either move with the breath, or you might pause here at any point that feels especially good to you. We'll move through our neck, just another breath or two, so finding whatever feels good to you. And then coming back into our seat. So you can adjust your seat if you'd like to. So if one leg was in front of the other, you can put the other leg in front now, or you can make any adjustments. And we're going to start connecting our breath more so to our movement. So we'll inhale, sweeping arms out to the sky, maybe letting our gaze follow the arms, follow the hands, and then exhaling, arms come back down. We're using that full inhale to sweep the arms up, and the full exhale to sweep the arms back down. Now, as we're moving here, we can make this movement as big or as small as we'd like. You might even choose to exhale, hands down through heart center. The key here is the breath. So breath is the most important part of our practice. Always letting the breath lead. Using the breath to soothe the body, soothe our minds. We'll do one more time like this. And now we're going to add in a little bit of a twist. So as we inhale, arms come up. As we exhale, we'll twist over to the right side. Inhaling forward, exhaling to the left side. Arms can stay in this flowing movement. You can change them any way that you'd like. So we have freedom with our arms throughout all of our postures, all of our poses. We might choose to bring them as if we're holding onto a big beach ball, or maybe bring hands to the shoulders. The key here is this twisting motion that's starting at the belly button, traveling through the torso and then letting the head and neck travel last. Coming back to center, we'll bring arms down alongside the body. And then taking a big inhale, sweeping right arm up to the sky. The left hand can be on the floor directly next to our body, or maybe even reaching out a little bit, getting into that side body a little more. Exhaling, arms come down. Inhaling, left arm reaches up. Exhaling to lower. Inhaling to lift. Creating space between the ribs. Creating space from the hip to the shoulder. Really hip all the way up to the fingertips. Getting a nice lateral flexion for the spine. And we don't often move in this direction, so this might feel really good to the side body and to the lower back as well. Do just one more time to each side, or until you feel balance between both sides of your body. And then we'll lift off of our block or our pillow, any support that we might be on, and we'll bend the knees. So feet are flat on the floor in front of us, hands are behind us. So we're just going to windshield wiper the knees from one side and then over to the other side. You might actually flow a little faster than I am if that's what your body needs, or you might pause here, feeling openness for the hips. So if we're sitting a lot, this might feel really good. We carry a lot of tension and stress in our hips. So it can take a little while to work some of that out. And then extending the legs in front of us. So one thing that we can do that's really a loving way to care for ourselves, and this is really a good thing to do actually right before we go to bed at night, is to give ourselves a little bit of a foot massage. And you might do this with an oil like sesame oil. Sesame oil is great this time of year, or you could add an essential oil to it, always wanting a carrier oil. But we'll just bend one leg. So maybe bending the left leg, that right leg can stay extended. And we're just going to take our hand and we're going to take our fingers in between our toes. So this might be a little awkward and it might feel uncomfortable, but it's really good for the foot. So especially if we're having a hard time getting the fingers in there, just going to whatever feels good. We're only going to be like this for a minute. We kind of call this shaking hands with our foot. So you might first start rotating that foot, getting into the ankle a little bit. And again, if you had oil, you could add that, to this, but you don't need the oil. So we're just rotating the foot in one direction and then the other, being really careful, noticing if there's any part that feels a little tweaky or achy. And then we're just getting in between those toes. So from here, we'll just take both hands and starting to massage the bottom of the foot. So we have marble points in our feet. We have marble points all over, but we're getting into our feet right now. And if you've ever seen a reflexology chart, thinking about how the different organs relate to the feet, the different parts of the body. So we want to just get all over. We won't stay here too long. If you are doing this before bed, you could actually do this in just a couple minutes, or you can make it take a little bit longer, whatever you need. But remember, this is a really good gift to give ourselves, and it helps to ground our energy. So especially if we're feeling a little scattered or stressed out, this is an awesome thing to do before we go to bed to help ground our energy. So then we'll take that foot and we'll shake it out. So really just a quick couple of minutes. That probably wasn't even a minute. And now we'll bring the right leg in. Same thing, shaking hands with our foot. Fingertips go into whatever you know, whatever space they can fit with the toes. And we'll start with that circling. So one side might circle easier than another. You might hear a little cricking and cracking. And then we'll go the opposite way. Anytime we circle, you always want to go the opposite way. And then from here, we'll remove our fingers from between our toes and then just rubbing all the different areas, including the bottoms of the toes, between the toes. So we kind of did between the toes a little bit before, but now you can explore that. And just notice where you might have a little bit of tightness in the feet, where, you know, one part might stand out more than another. And you can rub the top of the foot, all around the ankle. So again, we really could spend a lot more time here than what we're going to do right now. But just knowing that we have this as something that we could do as a way of caring for ourselves. Then we'll take that foot forward and we'll just shake out our legs a little bit. And we're going to make our way on to our backs. So bending our knees, we'll hold on to one leg and we'll use that as a handle to come onto the back. So you might rock your knees in and out, or maybe circling like I am. Making sure to go in both directions. And then from here, bringing feet onto the ground. We're going to move through bridge pose. So walking our feet in towards our glutes. Arms are next to the body. And knees are about hip distance apart. So knees and hips are in line with each other. As we inhale, we're going to start to lift the tailbone and then really finding that diagonal line from knees all the way down to the head. Pushing our hips up. And we're strengthening the back of the body, strengthening our glutes and our hamstrings as we open the front of the body. Opening the torso, opening through the hip flexors. And then as we exhale, we'll lower back down. Using our breath, so flowing with the breath. Inhale to lift. Exhaling to lower. Inhaling, pressing the feet down, using that push down to help the hips lift, and exhaling down. So we'll do this a few times, moving with the breath, being very aware of the neck and our cervical spine. So if this feels uncomfortable in any way, knowing we can come back to that knees to chest position. We'll do just one more time like this. And then hugging knees back into the chest, maybe staying still or you can rock them around, getting a bit of a massage from the earth. Bringing our feet down to the ground. We'll roll to one side using our hands to come up into a tabletop position. So for tabletop, we'll take hands directly underneath shoulders and we'll spread the fingertips wide. If we have any wrist issues, we can choose to come to fist for wrists, or we can always lower down to forearms. Knees are directly under the hips, and if we would like to add a little extra padding, we could roll up our yoga mat or maybe place a blanket underneath the knees. And we're going to start first with cat and cow. So for cat pose, we're going to exhale, and as we exhale, the tailbone comes down, belly draws in, chin comes towards the chest, so rounding our spine just like an angry cat. On the inhale, we'll reverse that, so tailbone lifts up, the belly drops, and the heart comes forward. Exhaling to round, pushing the floor away from us with strong arm, really pushing into those hands. Inhaling to extend. Shoulders draw in towards the spine. Exhaling to round. And inhaling to extend. Articulating through the spine, one vertebra at a time. Imagining that our spine is like a strand of pearls. We want to move one pearl at a time. Moving at your own perfect rhythm, matching your breath. So we'll pause here for just a moment, and you can either continue what we were just doing, or having an option to do a spinal balance and getting a little extra work for the abdominals. We're going to start on the right side to start. So extending the right leg. Toes are pointing down towards the ground. Pinky toe especially pointing down towards the earth. And we'll extend that left arm. Creating a lot of strength for the spine as we extend in opposite directions. Our next option here is to take the elbow towards the knees. Exhaling in, inhaling to lengthen. We're going to stay on this side. Exhaling and inhaling. Remember, we can go back to that cat and cow anytime that we'd like. One more time like this. And as we lower the left hand down to the floor, we'll bring the right toes to the floor. Option here to push the floor away from us with our strong arms. Toes are pressing down and lifting that left knee, knee to nose. Exhaling to lower that knee, comes back down to the floor. And we're going to turn to our side, coming into a modified side plank. Right hand is directly over the shoulder. From here, we're going to use the strength of the right side of the body, right arm, right leg, to help us lift up. Coming into gate pose. Now for gate pose, we're going to inhale the left arm up. Exhaling, finding our side bend. Inhaling, bringing that arm back down, and exhaling. So we'll flow through this just one more time after this one. Keeping the belly button facing the same direction as our legs. From here, we're going to take that left hand down to the floor. Now, this is one of those times we might want to use our block or our book. And we'll place the hand directly on the block to bring the floor a little bit closer to us. Or if we'd like, our hand can be on the ground. We'll sweep that right arm to the sky. And we're in that modified side plank once again. Option is to stay exactly where we are with that left knee on the ground, or if we'd like, we can lift and extend. So feet can be staggered, or they can be stacked one on top of the other. You can have that knee on the ground. We'll take one more breath here, really lifting through that side body. And then lowering the knee, coming back up. And we'll turn our bodies, coming back into our hands and knees. Maybe finding a cat and cow. We can take a moment to rest, maybe releasing our wrists a little bit. Now I'm going to switch sides just so I can keep facing you, but we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this time, the left leg is going to extend, right leg is going to extend. Actually, I think I flipped around on you guys, so I'm going to switch. Left leg is extended, right arm is extended. And we're going to do that elbow to knee. So exhaling, elbow in, inhaling, lengthening. Exhaling to draw in, inhaling to extend. Almost as if we're being pulled in opposite directions. And we'll do just one more like this. Lengthening, and then as we lower that right hand down to the ground, the left toes come down, and we can either stay here for a moment, or we can take that challenge to push the floor away from us with our strong arms, lifting that right knee, knee to nose. Exhaling to lower, and we'll pivot coming into our side plank for just a moment. Hands are stacked, arms are stacked, using the left side of the body, coming all the way up and releasing the arms. So we're going to flow through our gate pose on this side. Inhaling that right arm up and exhaling side bend. Inhaling and exhaling. So two more times just like this. Feeling that little side crunch on the left side. Keeping the hips pointing in the same direction, so hips are square. Now coming into that side plank, we have the option to bring the right hand directly to the floor, or we can have our block. Bringing the floor a little bit closer to us, stacking those arms, keeping that right knee on the ground, or extending the leg. And again, you might choose a different option on this side than you did on the first side, honoring whatever your body needs. Bringing that knee back down and using the strength of the core, thinking about that strong core center, that stability, and we'll come back into a kneeling posture. So after some of that work on our wrists, we might want to give our wrist a little bit of a break here. So we could make some circles. We could extend the arm in front with the fingertips facing down. First with palm in and then palm away. And then from here, we're going to shift into a child's pose. So we started in our tabletop, and then bringing big toes together. Knees can be as wide as the yoga mat as we sink our hips back and down towards our heels, resting our forehead on the mat. Maybe gently rocking that brow from side to side. Having a nice little massage for the center of the forehead, that place where we have our third eye, the place of our intuition and inner knowledge. From here, we'll extend those arms forward. If knees are wide, we'll walk them back in so they're in alignment with our hips. We can stay here in child's pose, or we can lift into a downward facing dog, reaching those arms forward, tucking the toes, and then as we lift our hips to the sky, we'll press those hips up as hands and feet go towards the earth. So heels don't need to make it all the way down to the ground. And in fact, to find a little more length in the spine, it might be appropriate to bend the knees so we can straighten that spine, finding the natural curves. And from here, we can start to walk our dog, maybe lifting one heel, bending that knee, and then slowly lowering it as we switch to the other side, waking up the bottoms of the feet, getting into the Achilles tendon, our calf muscles, our hamstrings. So still pushing that floor away from us, especially that place between the thumb and the index finger, using all 10 fingers pushing into the earth, lifting through the pelvic floor and engaging our root lock or mula bandha. And then we'll let both heels press towards the earth, even if they don't make it all the way there. Still getting that opening, that lengthening for the back of the body, opening for the chest. Exhaling, we'll bring knees back down to the ground. We'll uncurl those toes, shifting back into child's pose. Now, if you need to take a rest here, you can stay here and hang out in this child's pose. And in fact, you can come to child's pose anytime that you'd like to rest, or any other place that feels good to you. Or if you'd like, we can add in our half series vinyasa. So we'll start out very simple, inhaling forward to kneeling plank, pushing that floor away from us. And in kneeling plank, we want to make sure that we have that strong core center once again. So we're just like a plank of wood from the top of our head down to our knees. As we exhale, we're going to push back into child's pose. So that's our basic flow. Inhaling forward, pushing that floor away, exhaling back. Staying here with this combination, moving with the breath. Or this next time, if we'd like, we can exhale either maybe an inch down with our push-up or halfway down, or we can lower all the way down. And then inhale up and exhaling back. So that push-up is optional. If we're adding it, remembering we want to keep the arms so that they're close to the body. We're focusing on our tricep muscles with this push-up. Elbows are hugging in, and we're getting the back of the upper arm. We might choose to add in maybe a couple extra bonus push-ups, or we can leave them out entirely, flowing the way that your body needs it right now. What does your body need in this moment? And knowing that stillness is always an option. This next time when we come forward, we're going to lower all the way down to the ground. So lengthening the body, We'll keep hands next to the shoulders. And we're going to come into a baby cobra pose. So as we inhale, lifting the chin and chest, very little weight in our hands. So thinking about a snake having no hands. We're just using the strength of the back to do this little bitty back bend here. Shoulders are drawing down away from the ears. And then as we exhale, forehead comes down, hands come next to the shoulders once again, and we're going to push up and back. Pausing here for a moment. In our child's pose, maybe bringing hands back to meet the feet. Taking a big in-breath, and then letting it go through the mouth. So just one more time like that. Staying here in your child's pose. So we can extend the arms forward to lift into another downward facing dog. Bringing the gaze towards the heels. And now inhaling, we'll look towards the thumbs. Belly button's drawing in, and we're going to use the strength of that core as we exhale, taking a walk to the front of our mats into forward fold. Feet are about hip bone distance apart. We'll shake out our head and neck. So shaking your head no, saying no to limiting beliefs. And then nodding our head yes. Yes, I am enough just as I am. Softening our knees, we're going to inhale, taking a reverse swan dive. Exhaling, hands come to heart center. Inhaling, we'll sweep the arms up once again. Big exhale as we hinge at the hips, long spine, bringing hands next to the feet, crown of the head down towards the earth. On our in-breath, we'll lift halfway, coming into a flat back or monkey pose. So hands could be on shins. If we have blocks, they could be on our blocks. No need to try and reach the ground. We're thinking about lengthening the backs of the legs, and knees can be bent as much as we'd like. And we're creating length for the spine at the same time. So nice length here for everything on the back side of the body. Keeping our gaze down towards the earth rather than looking forward at the screen. And then exhaling, hands come to the floor. We'll step the left foot back, lowering the knee down to the ground. We'll uncurl the toes. Hands can stay low, or if you'd like, walking hands up that front thigh. Feeling a nice stretch and openness for the front of the back thigh into our hip flexor muscles. Hands could be at prayer here. Relaxing our gaze, relaxing the jaw. And as we exhale, hands come down to frame that front foot. We'll step that right foot back to meet the left. And coming into child's pose. Option to stay just as we are. We can add in that vinyasa that we were just exploring, that half series. Inhaling forward. Exhaling, lowering all the way, adding in that cobra pose, drawing elbows and shoulders down towards our heels. Exhaling, forehead back down, planting our hands, and then big inhale as we push up, and exhaling back. On our next in-breath, we'll step that left foot to the top of the mat. Knee is directly over the ankle, protecting our joints. Keeping hands on the ground, on our blocks. We can lift into that prayer position once again, or maybe lifting the arms to the sky. Setting our gaze or our drishti. And then as we exhale, hands come down 2 blocks or to the ground. We'll tuck the rear toes under, coming into runner's lunge. And then taking a big step into forward fold, keeping these soft as we inhale halfway, flat back. Exhaling, melting, letting the belly rest on the legs. Pressing our feet into the earth as we inhale, rising tall, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, we'll sit into chair pose. Weight of the body towards the heels. Inhaling, we'll sweep up. And then exhaling, diving forward. Crown the head towards the earth. Inhaling halfway, finding that flat back, monkey pose. And then exhaling, hands come to the floor. We'll step the right foot back. Finding that Low lunge position once again. Knee and ankle are safely in alignment. Hands can stay low, or we can walk hands up that front thigh. This time we'll have an option to bring hands to heart center and maybe even adding in a twist. So as we inhale, we'll find length. So maybe growing just a little bit taller, imagining that there's a string coming out of the top of the head, making us just a little bit taller. And then as we exhale, we'll twist over to the right side. Hands could stay in prayer, or if you'd like, they can come to the legs. Turning your gaze maybe towards that rear shoulder, or if it feels better to bring the chin and neck in any other position, allowing that. And then we'll inhale, coming back to front. Exhale, hands come to the floor, and we'll step back, finding child's pose. Staying still or adding in your vinyasa. So it might be the one that we've done here on knees, or you could do one on toes if that's in your practice. And then meeting in a child's pose. On our next in breath, we'll step the right foot to the top of the mat. And then option once again to lift and maybe add in that twist. So hands could be at heart center as we take a breath in, and then exhaling, opening to that left side. So you might notice sensations in the pelvis as we turn from one side. And then inhaling forward, so we're creating openness. Bringing hands back down to the floor, we'll tuck the rear toes under, and then big step into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, finding that flat back monkey pose. Exhaling, rounding, forward fold. Rooting the feet down, so we'll inhale, reverse swan dive. And exhaling as we sit our hips back into chair pose. Maybe even giving those toes a little bit of a wiggle as we sit more of our weight towards our heels. And then inhaling, rising. Exhaling, hands and arms come down alongside the body. We're getting ready to do a little bit of balance. So when we balance, you always have the option of coming to a wall or maybe having a couple of blocks nearby. We're going to explore Warrior 3 or airplane. And what we're going to do is start first by stepping the left foot forward a little bit. And we're going to square both hips to the top of the mat. So this is almost like a very high lunge. So if you think about the lunge might be here or even a little bit lower, but we're going to be up quite high. So we're just on those rear toes. We can bring our arms out, so thinking about making our arms like wings, or we can bring hands to heart center. Now, if we're new to balance, or if balance is a challenge for us, we might stay here in this little bit of a kickstand that we've created, where you can start to just gently lift that rear leg. And as we do that, we're really engaging that rear glute, keeping that standing knee soft. So we have to be supple in order to be strong. And then only if it feels available to you today, we can start to hinge forward a little bit more, maybe bringing the thigh and the heart parallel to the floor. If we're lifting that rear leg, that rear foot, making sure the toes are pointing down towards the ground. Now we have our blocks here. I'm going to show you. You might choose to tap your fingers on the blocks. If you're near a wall, your hands could be near the wall, on the wall, or you could have your hand on a sofa or a chair. Breathing, so making sure we're not holding our breath. If we notice that we're holding the breath, we're trying a little too hard, and maybe we can back out of it a little bit. So maybe we rise a little bit. Maybe find that kickstand again. So it's all about seeing what feels good to you. And then before we go to the other side, we'll give ourselves a little bit of counter movement. It could be some circles for those hips, or maybe shaking out arms and legs. And then we'll switch to the other side. So now this time, right foot is forward and we're on those left toes. So again, really big variation of a high lunge. Maybe bringing arms out with palms forward. That's going to give us a beautiful chest opener. Or if you'd like, hands can come to the heart. Anywhere that they feel good. You might even choose to have arms out wider. So thinking about that airplane. And then either playing with that kickstand or lowering to any degree. Remembering if that rear leg is lifted, we want to have those toes pointing towards the ground. Inner thigh is drawing up towards the sky. And anytime you need to, fingers can come to the blocks or any other support that you have. Giving yourself permission to be supported. Remembering this is our yoga practice. So we're never trying or needing to be perfect. And then as you're ready, rise back up. Shaking that out. We might notice that one side likes to balance a little bit easier than the other side. That's pretty normal. And balance is great because if you've got something on your mind, you really can't think about anything else other than balancing when you're doing it. So you want to try and get some focus in your life. Try doing a balance pose. So we'll come back to the top of our mats. Feet are about hip distance apart. We'll roll those shoulders open, coming into mountain pose. We want to have that nice opening for the front of the shoulders and the chest. So it's kind of like those wings that we created for our airplane, but arms are next to the body. We're rooting down through the feet, knees are nice and soft, gaze is steady. We'll inhale, sweeping the arms up to the sky, and then exhaling, forward fold, letting the crown of the head reach towards the earth. We're just going to sway here like a rag doll. Knees are soft. So if there's any tightness in the backs of the legs, bending the knees a little bit more. Always honoring your body, honoring what the body has to give to us today. Bringing hands next to the feet. We're going to walk our feet back into another downward facing dog. So in this down dog, we're going to have a couple options. You can always lower the knees down to child's pose if that's what the body needs right now. You can walk your dog, pedaling out the feet. Or if you'd like, finding stillness, we'll bring the feet to touch and then inhaling right leg to the sky, coming into a three-legged dog. If that's too much, finding whatever option feels better. If we're in our three-legged dog, both hips are facing the earth, the toes are pointing down. Really getting a nice stretch from the back of that calf muscle, the standing leg. And then we'll lower the right foot down. Inhale the left leg up. Again, keeping hips square to the floor. Toes are pointing down towards the earth. Exhaling, both feet touch back in our downward facing dog, making this the best down dog of the practice. And then as we exhale, knees come down to the ground, coming onto our bottoms. We'll extend those legs forward. Now we're going to come into a little bit of a twist. And this is another time that you might choose to sit up on your block. So it's not necessary, but it, again, can be really good for the spine, especially if you find yourself rounding back. We want to be lengthening through the spine. And I'm actually going to come off my block for this one. It's a little more comfortable for me without it. You could be on a pillow or a blanket. Now, both legs are extended. We're going to start in staff pose. We'll spread those toes wide. It's almost like they're flowers blooming in spring. And again, that kind of goes back to where we started when we did the foot massage, trying to get our fingers between our toes, getting into those muscles in our toes. And then from here, we're going to take the right leg, bending the knee. So we could stay here with the foot inside of the left leg, or we can cross the foot over, but only if we can keep both sides of our bottom on the floor. We'll inhale, lifting that left arm to the sky, right hand is on the floor behind us. And then as we exhale, twisting over to the right side. So if this feels uncomfortable in any way, remember you can adjust the foot, you can be on some type of support, or you can turn back towards the front. Whenever we twist, it might feel a little tricky to get the breath in and out. So if you're noticing that you're having a difficult time breathing or you're holding your breath, maybe unwinding a little bit. And then only if it feels appropriate, revisiting the twist. And again, we're twisting from the belly, through the ribs, and then the chest. Inhaling, we'll come back to face the front. We'll extend that right leg and we'll do the other side. So as we bend the left knee, staying here with the foot inside or outside of the thigh. Left hand comes behind us and then we'll inhale to find that length and then exhale to twist. Relaxing the shoulders and the jaw. So noticing if we're creating tension in another part of the body. And always having that option to back out a little bit and then maybe revisit the twist. And then inhale and coming back to face the front. We'll extend those legs long. And this time we're going to come into a wide-legged position. So whatever is wide-legged for you, it doesn't have to be all the way open. And again, a lot of people sometimes find that slumping back position. So if you're finding that you're slumping, sitting up on the block or your pillow. And as we come into this position, making sure knees and toes are pointing up to the ceiling. So if they're not, maybe adjusting the legs, maybe bringing them a little closer together. And this might be where you feel the best. You might want to stay here in this upright position because we want to think about that length from tailbone to the top of the head. And as we exhale, if we choose to come forward, keeping that length, so hinging at the hips, maybe walking the hands forward, maybe bringing hands to the bottoms of the feet, or you can take your two peace fingers to your big toes. And only coming forward if that feels accessible. So in yoga, we like to think about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So if there's an edge, finding your edge where you can be comfortable being uncomfortable. So not pushing through to pain or tugging or forcing anything, but kind of being at that place where you know something is happening, something in a good way. So we'll stay here for just another breath or two, always knowing that you can exit any pose whenever you need to. And then to come out of this, if we're forward, we'll very slowly walk the hands back in, coming into that lifted posture. We'll bring our knees back in, and we'll revisit those windshield wipers that we did earlier in the practice. So as we warmed up quite a bit, you might move quicker or slower. Maybe your body needs this movement a little differently now that we've moved through some different things. And you might notice that it feels a little different now that we've been moving a bit more. We'll come back into that bent knee position. And we're going to use our hands, again, behind one of our legs, kind of like a handle to roll onto the back once again. Giving ourselves a little bit of a hug. So we could be moving in a circular motion, we could rock the knees, or maybe we would like to curl up into a tight little ball, bringing the forehead up to meet the knees. Exhaling. We'll come into a reclined position now with knees bent. We're going to inhale, lifting the right leg to the sky. And we can hold on behind the thigh or the calf. If we have a strap, we could choose to hold on to, take the strap around the instep of the foot. And this knee can be bent as much as you like. If there's any tightness here, remember, we can bend that knee as much as we need to. Relaxing the shoulders. The bottom leg can be bent, or we can extend the leg, but only if we can keep both hips on the ground. If that lower back or the glute starts to lift, then bending the knee once again. From here, we are going to bend that knee, and we're going to take that right ankle across the left thigh, coming into reclined pigeon pose. We'll flex that top foot, and the left foot can stay on the ground, or if we pull a little bit more, maybe lifting the foot and holding on behind the thigh. We can hold on at the shin. Now, if we're lifting that bottom foot, we want to flex that foot also. So both feet are nice and active here, sending some energy out the bottoms of the feet. And if this is creating too much tension in the shoulders, holding on to the leg, we can either lower that leg or bring arms back alongside the body. Now, as we're in this pigeon pose, we're drawing the left leg into the body and the right leg away from the body, getting into that hip and thigh. And then as we're ready, we'll lower the left leg down. If it was lifted, we'll uncross the legs and then we'll switch sides. So now lifting left leg up towards the sky, holding on at any point along the leg. Remember, we could use a strap or we could take our 2 peace fingers holding on. And it might feel different than the other side. So pausing to notice how this side feels compared to the first side, starting to become more aware of our bodies. And then from here, we can go into that upside down pigeon pose, taking the left ankle over the right thigh, keeping that foot flexed to protect the knee. You might place a hand gently on that thigh, just for a little bit of pressure, or you have the option of lifting the bottom leg. Again, if you notice that makes you feel a little crunched up in the neck and shoulders, bringing hands down alongside the body, or you can bring that foot back down. So there's never any right or wrong. It's always about picking the pose or fitting the pose to fit your body. So it's not about making your body fit the pose. It's the other way around, making the poses fit your body. So we'll take just one more breath here. And very slowly, we'll come out of that, uncrossing the legs. We'll take the feet as wide as the mat, revisiting those windshield wipers, but now in this reclined position. Noticing how that feels a little different now that we're on the ground, now that we're on our backs. So from here, we can come into any final pose or movement that we might like. So if there's a pose that your body needs or something you were hoping to do today, or maybe revisiting one of the twists that we did, or we can come into a happy baby, lifting the feet up towards the sky. Feet and knees are in line with each other, and knees are wider than the ribs. So we're drawing knees down towards the armpits, using strong arms to draw those feet down, and the hips are reaching towards the earth, sacrum's coming towards the earth. And then either rocking side to side like a happy baby, or staying still like a dead bug. But again, if there's something else your body needs right here, then finding that. And then as you're ready, we'll make our way into Shavasana, final relaxation. So bringing feet down towards the floor, knees can stay bent, they could flop in towards each other in constructive rest pose, or maybe finding a more traditional Shavasana with legs extended, letting the feet be wider than the hips. Arms are out alongside the body with the palms turned up, and we can walk the shoulders underneath the body a little bit, allowing ourselves to surrender our bodies to the earth, letting go of any need to do anything, taking this opportunity to allow the body to assimilate all the work that we've done today. Turning our gaze, our awareness inward as we feel the weight of the body soften into the earth. Make today a healing day. Take time for healing. Take time for what soothes your body, your mind, your soul. Take a bath, light a candle, read a book, take a walk, get a massage, see your favorite healer if you desire, see a movie, buy some flowers, drink a cup of tea. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of doing something healing for ourselves. We're too busy, too tired, but that is when we must take care of ourselves the most. Listen to your heart. What does it want? Listen to your body. What does it need? Trust what you hear. Make today a healing day. Then take some time and make every day a healing day. As you're ready, beginning to bring some movement back to the body, wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes. And then gently rolling to one side with the knees bent. Using the hands to help lift to an easy, comfortable seat. Coming back to where we started our practice today. Inhaling, bringing hands together at heart center in prayer position, Anjali Mudra. Bowing chin towards the chest, bowing our egos to our hearts. Offering a moment in gratitude for all the blessings that we have in our lives. Taking a moment in gratitude for this body on this mat and on this day. And in gratitude from me to you for sharing this time together. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. Namaste. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.